Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you here tonight and thank you for spending your Thursday night here. We really appreciate it. Before I go on, please quiet yourself, because sometimes they ring.
Do you want the microphone? Let me get the microphone.
There's a mic. Yes, thank you. Many of you know about People for Portmouth. We are a political action committee whose goal is to achieve good governance in Portsmouth through voter registration, participation, and education. And this is the education part for you to see the candidates running for the 80th district. We encourage voters to fill elected positions in Portsmouth government with people who are capable, honest, respectful, regardless of their race, religion, or political affiliation. We need an effective government. We're all fighting for that. I'm Pam Clotel, and I'm president of People for Portsmouth. It's been, I think, almost 5 years since we started the organization, and we're really proud with some of our outcomes. The people we elected in 2016 are still serving, and they're up for election in 2020. But tonight we're going to concentrate on the delegate, a delegate to the 80th district. We distributed a survey on our Facebook page, and boy, did you all respond with some excellent questions. And that's where the questions are coming from tonight, is the survey that you submitted. That survey had we were just amazed, and we thank you. We also are going to have a survey out tomorrow asking you who you're going to vote for delegate. So if you will please fill that in. We are not going to endorse anybody this time, but we will publish the your vote count on our Facebook page. So please fill that in when it comes. I'd like you to meet Rob Meredith, our timer. We don't think people are going to have a lot of time to talk tonight. You'll even have to raise the red flag when it's there in case they do. And we also have our moderator is Steve Batten. You have met him before because he's been here twice with us, and he is a local radio host. He started as a broadcaster at the ripe old age of 11. That's right, 11. In a small country station in Okeechobee, Florida. And so, how long were you there?
10 years.
10 years, until you were 21. All right, so he was there 10 years. And he wound up coming back to Williamsburg. And then he is now with us in Virginia Beach. He is in Pungo. He had a long ride. He said he didn't get many strawberries because they all came too early for him. But we are so glad to have him. And again, Steve, this is the third time he's going to be People for Portsmouth moderator. So thank you. I think it's your turn, Steve. Go for it.
All right. Thank you for having me here. I appreciate it very much. Again, she mentioned People for Portsmouth will have an online survey asking you who you support for delegate. Answer the survey and let us know who you'll vote for November 5th. Through People for Portsmouth is not going to endorse anyone. She just mentioned that. The survey and the vote tally will be published. By the way, if you need an absentee ballot, you must request one by October 29th at 5 p.m. And remember, next week we'll be here, same time, same place, for the Clerk of the Court Forum. So come on out and meet the candidates. Now it's time to meet our House of Delegate candidates for this evening. And the way we're going to do this is we're going to give each one 5 minutes to do an introduction of themselves. Gentlemen, the timekeeper will show you a yellow flag at 4 minutes, and at 5 you'll see the red flag stop talking. So that's the way this works. After that, there's going to be a specific question for each candidate that has been selected. Then after that, I'll rotate around who we start with on various questions. I'll call on one of you to answer the question, and the other two will have an opportunity to also answer each question after that. Okay? So, first of all, 5 minutes to tell us about yourself and why you are running for the House of Delegates. We're going to start with Ryan Benson. Ryan?
All right, well, good evening. This is exciting to be here. This is my first time up on this stage here. It seems really official for I guess this is our fourth forum. And so I am glad that People for Portsmouth is hosting the forum. I have participated and volunteered at the polls with the organization on election day the last several years. I've attended other forums, and I've come full circle because I'm sitting here on the stage. My name is Brian Denton, and I'm glad to be here. I am a hometown candidate. I'm running as an independent, primarily because I believe Portsmouth needs leaders that want to work together. I grew up in Merrimack Point. I attended Portmouth Elementary School. The same school as my parents, who both went to Wilson in class of 1969. And Portsmouth is my hometown, and it's a place that I love. And so after college, I attended George Mason University, where I majored in communication. I worked at the White House as an intern in presidential correspondence while I was up there. Had a lot of big city life experiences, but ultimately wanted to come back. I found out that I'm more country mouse than city mouse, and Portsmouth is, my home. And so after college, I relocated. I bought a little condo down in Swimming Point, where I currently reside today. I serve on as vice president of the Civic League in Swimming Point, and I am also co-chair for the Boys and Girls Club. And up until the start of this school year, we ran 3 clubs in the city at Hodges Ferry Elementary School, Douglas Park Elementary School, and Waters at Lakeview, where we combined Waters, Middle, and Lakeview into one club. Currently, the city's taken over the before and after school care program, 6 to 6 program, and so we are focusing more on middle school and high school and the teenage crowd, and we run a club down off George Washington Highway and Victory over near Friday. And I'm running, I guess, because I truly love our city, and like I said, we need some leaders that want to work together. We need some leaders that are in it for the right reasons. I feel like we've had Portsmouth's been through a lot, and anything you can imagine. We've had magistrates getting caught taking $100,000 bribes. We've had mayors getting caught recalled multiple times, and it's time to put the people of Portsmouth first.
Okay, thank you very much. Next, Jim Evans. Again, why are you running for the House of Delegates, and tell us about yourself.
Yes, and thank you for the invitation here to speak with everyone this evening. To let you know who I am, if you read my palm card, there's not a lot there. It tells you my education. I've lived here in Portsmouth for about 15 years, Tidewater for about 33, and I moved here for work. Where I really got started was in the northern panhandle of West Virginia, a little small town, steel town called Weirton, when steel was big. And my dad worked in the mills. My mother served as a church secretary and then a legal secretary. She was a school secretary for a while, but we were a family of 6 kids on a guy that's working in the steel mill. And when I was 13, my dad decided to change jobs because there were layoffs happening at the mill and work wasn't steady. And he hit his mark. He found what he was made for, and he did very well at it. And the company that he worked for said, "You do so well, we want you to train our people down in Charleston, West Virginia," which at that time was the chemical capital of the world. And so we moved down there, and my parents were good, solid parents. If you fell down and you were crying and you were playing or work or something, they'd ask you, "Is your arm broke? Was your leg broke?" You'd say no. They said, "Well, stop crying, get up and do what you're doing." And learned that. Now, my first job was at 8 years old. I delivered newspapers in west of Pittsburgh, which is the snow belt. So if it was sunny, it was great. If it was raining, it was okay. But when it snowed, it snowed. And we delivered those papers. And we had 3 different routes. I delivered one. My younger brother delivered another, which was shorter. And then my littlest brother, he walked with my mother as we delivered the newspapers. And we would come in frozen. We would come in really hot and sweaty. But it taught me a lot because we ended up having to be a small business. Collecting money and whatever our profit was, that's what we had. And so I began to learn a lot. And the next job was just pumping gas for a guy who was an independent hauler. And I would fill the tanks of the truck, and I got paid a quarter of a tank. And a quarter a tank. And if I filled gas, I did not get paid. And it taught me a lot, being around the families and the community. We were at church every Sunday. And then we moved south to Charleston. I met my wife, Chris, who I've been married to for 39 years. And on November the 10th, we'll be married 40 years. and she's been the best thing that's happened to me. And what got me involved in the politics after I had done a lot of different jobs, I've managed branches for finance companies, worked in call centers to help train people and manage groups. What got me involved was I began to see our leaders not being in touch with the people of the community. And one of the things that really woke me up was a phone call that I got from a customer from another state that's like ours. And you know how you live in Franklin. If you pay taxes in Franklin, you also pay taxes in Isle of Wight. Well, what happened for her was the taxes went up so greatly, it doubled her house payment. She said, Jim, I don't know what I'm going to do. So we spent an hour on the phone trying to figure things out. And we worked it out. And then I realized, and then I saw what was happening in my community, and the first answer was we're going to raise taxes to help the schools. And I was looking at something, I said, there's other things that we can do. And that's why I started to run, is we need a city and state government that is going to meet the needs of the community. And we have to do it in a limited government way, and we need to do it in a cost-effective government way. And those are the things that we need to search. And I could see how we've been floundering in our system. And I just want to let you know this, that going around Portsmouth, when I lived in Virginia Beach, I was told, don't move to Portsmouth. I want to let you know I am so glad I have. Because when I visited all of Portsmouth, the people are tight, they know their neighbors, and they watch out for each other. It's like living in a big, small town. And I really like it. And I hope I get your vote.
All right, thank you. And finally, Don Scott, please tell us about yourself and why you are running for the House of Delegates.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Steve. First of all, again, thank you for having me. Thank you for hosting this beautiful Portsmouth. I really appreciate the enthusiasm and the civic engagement that we have here. My name is Don Scott. I am a husband, a father. I am a local attorney. I am a business owner. I'm married to a business owner. My wife is a dentist. She owns her own practice. I am blessed to have a beautiful 10-year-old daughter. Her name is Peyton. I love her to death. And one of the reasons that I'm running is because I care about the future of the city where my family resides, where I've chosen to live. I have been here 14 years here in Portland. I came here because of work. The company I worked for at the time, we won a contract with Norfolk. And when I came here, the first thing my wife and I did, we were doing a few things at the same time. We were getting married and moving at the same time. And we came and ran into a real estate agent over in Norfolk, and same thing, they were like, look, I'm going to show you everything, but not Portland, because y'all don't have family yet, and schools are not good, and all this other stuff about Portland. And when we began to look around this community, it was the city that stood out to us the most. And it was a beautiful city. And I always say that, we have, in the city of Portsmouth, we have great people. It is beautiful when my family comes up from Texas to visit. They're always amazed at the waterways and how beautiful the people it is. And I always tell them that, yeah, it's a blue-collar town, but we're sitting on white-collar real estate. And we have a lot of resources and assets that we are not utilizing to the best of our ability. And I want to help do that. I am a graduate of Texas A&M University. I have a Bachelor of Science in Agriculture. I have a law degree from LSU Law School. I am an honorably discharged former naval officer. That's why I relate to this community so well, because there's so many ex-Navy folks in this community. That's why this community is a great place to raise a family. The things that I care about in this community, the reason I'm running, is because as an attorney, I'm hearing things every day about the tolls. People come to me, I have clients that come to me that they want to try to ameliorate the impact that the tolls are having on our community. The tolls, the way that we are doing things here in this community, the things that Portsmouth does. I know some of the leadership as an attorney, I get to interact with judges and other community leaders across the board. And I'm constantly teasing other people and leaders in other communities that the best thing ever happened to them is Portsmouth. We stay on the front page with stuff that should be on the front page, things that should be happening behind closed doors and worked out. And one of the things that I've always been able to do, I serve now as the chair of the Economic Development Authority here. I serve on the board of Future Hampton Roads. I've served as the chair of the National Association of Workforce Development Professionals, which is a diverse organization that's across the country, that's made up of our strength. Diversity is not a problem, it's not a burden, it's our strength. And I serve currently, every board I've been on, by the time I got through serving, I've sent it to church. And it's because I've been able to work with people across broad backgrounds, work with everybody. It's a reason that I've gotten contributions from my campaign for both Kenny Wright, the former mayor, as well as the current mayor, John Rowe. You know they got problems, but they both have contributed to my campaign. A lot of folks around this community, they know that I can bring people together, and that's why they're supporting my campaign. One of the other issues that I see in this community is that we have not taken full advantage of all of our resources. And I think we have a great opportunity. If I'm elected as their delegate, those are the things that I want to do when I go to Richmond. Help bring all of the resources that we have for the whole state of Virginia. One of the things that I see here often, having a daughter in public school, is that we haven't given all of the resources that we need to public schools. We have to increase teacher pay here. In the state of Virginia, we're below the national average in what we pay our teachers. In the state of Virginia, our schools are falling apart. Y'all saw the news, there's a rat-infested school over in Norfolk. It was on the news yesterday, but we're not investing in infrastructure in our schools anymore. How do we expect to be a world-class education, give our kids a world-class education, if we're not going to invest in the infrastructure of our schools? So if I'm elected delegate, those are the top priorities that I have. Look and see how we got to this problem to be solved, try to invest in teacher pay, make sure that we protect the gains that we've made with Medicaid expansion. We've helped to expand Medicaid for 400,000 Virginians. We want to make sure that we keep those gains. We don't want to go backwards. There are folks in other parties who are pretending to be Democrats now, they're Republicans, and they voted against Medicaid expansion 4 times, and now they're acting like they voted for it, but they voted against it because now they say it's a good thing. Thank you, and I hope that you will support me on my message.
All right, thank you, sir. Now we're going to move on to the candidate-specific questions. We're going to change the order around. The first question is for Jim Evans. Mr. Evans is a businessman and a Republican who has had no political experience. Why should people for Portsmouth supporters vote for you?
The reason that you should vote for me is because I can understand the needs of Portsmouth. I live here. I pay the tax rate, one of the highest in the state. And I look at what we get for it. And so we do need to work towards reducing our tax rate so that we can bring more businesses into the Commonwealth of Virginia. And the city, we need to look at our tax rate too, because we're the highest among Hampton roads. And it's really interesting to drive through Portsmouth, and you go down High Street, then you get the Chesapeake line, you pass the line, all kinds of small businesses. It's thriving business-wise. But yet here in Portsmouth, we're hurting. What we need to do is to address...
I'm sorry, are you using the microphone?
Yes, that?
Okay.
I'm sorry, you can't hear me?
There are people in the back that can't.
Can I start over? Could you all hear me in the back? Yeah. Oh, okay. All right, good. Okay, thank you. All right, and one of the things that we need to do is for instance, in our school system, is looking for money. Throwing money at it isn't always the answer in raising tax rates. One thing we need to do is start looking at the unfunded mandates that the federal government and the state government have put on us, and the roles that have to change. We have one guidance counselor for every 250 students, plus they do other jobs. Now, how are they going to do that? And guide a student through to the best college they can find. These are the things that we need to start looking at and getting people assigned to their jobs. We need to push the money into the classroom where we are able to bring in teacher helpers or teacher assistants that are regulated. And what I mean is they're graded, they're evaluated on their performance and how they assist the teacher and the students. One of the other issues is we look at economic development. You know, in 1960, the census shows us as having 110,000 people in Portsmouth. Every census we've gone down. Now we're down to 94,000, about 400. And probably in 2020 we'll be below 94,000. And what happens is that you see what's going on. We need to have our 80th district moving forward. And when you send me to Richmond, what I'll be doing is looking for ways to bring businesses in here. Now, we have to work across the aisle. We have to work through businesses. And, you know, we were talking about Medicare just a minute ago. You know, one of the reasons why we ended up with Medicare is because our governor vetoed the opportunity for us to have private plans for those people to move on to. Another thing that the governor vetoed was extending the catastrophic coverage plan. And so these are things, when the governor vetoes them, you don't have the opportunity. And he said himself, the only answer for us is bigger government, and we have to have this Medicaid expansion. When we could have done it with a lot less effort, we could have put people onto private plans, because you get better care when you're on a private plan. And let me explain to you why. The Medicaid doctors are dropping out. So you can have the coverage in Medicaid, but you don't have a doctor that's going to perform the procedure. So these are the things that we really have to look at, because we look at, we're going to give it to you, we're going to give it to you. But what are you getting? Let's move to the private plan, where you just go to your doctor, he sets you up for the surgery, and it's paid for. And that's what we need to do. We don't need more government and hitching people to the government goal. We have better plans, and we have better options for you. They're just not offered to you. Not when they're vetoed at the governor's level.
All right, thank you, sir. The next question is for Don Scott. Mr. Scott, you're a convicted felon and a practicing attorney who has had no political experience. Why should people for Portsmouth supporters vote for you?
First of all, I want to thank you for that question. I'm sure it's no secret. Long ago, 25 years ago, I was convicted of a crime. I pled no contest to a crime. And since that time, I'm more focused on what I've done since then. What I've done since then is I have come home. I married my wife, who's a dentist, shortly afterwards. I have worked in corporate America for 12, 13 years. I started at the very bottom. I make no excuses. Accountability is important to me. You take it on the chin, you get back up. It's not how far you fall, it's how you get back up and fight. One of the things that I learned as a former naval officer, when you make a mistake, you own it, you come back from it, and you keep fighting. And that's what I've done. What I've done is I've been vetted by every organization to get my license. First of all, before I even got my license, I worked in corporate America. I started at the bottom. When I left the company that I was working for, I started as a case manager in a company that worked in workforce development and economic development. When I left that company, I was a senior vice president of that company, responsible for a $100 million portfolio. I'm hoping that people that hear my story will be inspired by it. I am someone that you should make sure that if you tell the story, tell the whole story. Don't just say that convicted thing. Tell the fact that I'm a father, a husband, a successful business owner, an attorney. I've gone through and been vetted by the Virginia Board of Bar Examiners. I took the bar exam at 20 years at the law school with the Virginia bar exam and passed it the first time. I don't know many people who can do that. Passed the first time. So yes, do I have some scars? I think everyone here is. I'm looking in the audience and I want everybody here who doesn't have any scars to raise their hand. I think everybody is. But thank God I'm a strong believer in my faith, which is that for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. That's my faith. And then whosoever shall believe should not perish but have eternal life. And also John 3:17, and everybody talks about 3:16. The 3:17 said there's no condemnation in those who believe. So I would ask everybody before you go on a judgment rally to make sure that you check yourself. I would also say that, I'm blessed. My daughter and my wife just walked in right on cue to save me. But, I'm blessed to have a beautiful wife, a beautiful daughter, and a beautiful family. But moreover, I'm serving because folks have come to me. I've served on several boards and commissions. Right now, I'm first vice president on the board, Southeastern Employment and Training Association, which is a regional board made up of several states. And I'll be president of that board come next year. I bring a lot to the table that may not be political experience, but it's leadership experience. It's leadership experience in local, regional, and national organizations. I've been asked to serve on boards while I was there in Portmouth, Virginia. I served on the executive committee of the California Workforce Association. So I know that there are experiences that I can bring to the table that will benefit the city of Portland, which is why I was asked to serve on the Economic Development Authority here. And I'm now chair of that committee, and I work with people across political spectrums. I can work with Republicans or Democrats. I can work with independents or non-affiliated people. But my mentality is that we need to get work done. The reason I'm running is because as I sit here in Portland and I've learned, as I said earlier, we have some challenges. But I really honestly believe, like myself, this city is a resilient city. I believe that there are some things in the past that have happened in Portland that we can come back from. We can come back from that pavilion not being ready for this summer and hurting downtown business. We can come back from that. I believe our future is much brighter than our past, and I'm hopeful that you will consider me and give me an opportunity November 5th to prove that. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. And finally, the final candidate-specific question is for you, Ryan Benton. As a real estate agent and an independent who has had no political experience, why should people for Portsmouth supporters vote for you?
Well, I think I can identify with the people of Portsmouth. One, because I'm from here. And so I think that when it's your hometown, there's a lot more passion in the race than any other the other candidates. As a realtor, I sell Portsmouth every single day. And so I know all too well the struggle that we face with crime, tolls, public education. And so one of the number one reasons with Portsmouth, in addition to, the property taxes is a huge issue, but with the schools is the number one reason, home buyers are looking for a home. And so we have to make sure we properly fund our schools. We need to be able to retain our teachers, pay the teachers a living wage. Virginia is one of 2 states that does not allow teachers to collectively bargain. And so how do we retain the talent? We have 27% of our teachers, quit after the first year or move either to a different profession or to a different locality. And so that's a huge issue in our city. And so when we look at K-12 funding on a state level, the allocation system has not been readdressed since 1980. And so that's before I was born. I'm 35 years old. And it's also, Jimmy Carter was president. And so at the time, right now, the state provides 45% of the funding for the school system. And so if it was allocated where different regions, I feel like we could introduce a new system where you could have rural and urban communities could better obtain funding, because we're disadvantaged, because of our tax base or because of our population and what have you. The other issue I want to focus on is with crime prevention here in Portsmouth, and we got to retain our police officers. We need to pay them fair wages and give them the benefits that they need. We are short. We just had 18 graduate about a week ago, and so we put new officers on the street, but we need to make sure that we are fully staffed and that we can be competitive with Chesapeake and Virginia Beach. And so getting the funding to ensure that our law enforcement has the resources that they need. The number one issue I hear about when I've knocked on doors, I've gone door to door, about 6,000 doors, is the toll on the Midtown and Downtown Tunnel. And that's been the biggest obstacle for economic development, I believe, in our city. Right now, we're looking at redeveloping, this waterfront and the building, where we are right now. And so how can we do that? And will the toll, downtown Portsmouth has been affected more than any other area in Hampton Roads with the tolls, and Portsmouth in general is affected 6 times greater than any other city. And so what can we build here? Will people come? Will they pay the toll? The toll has had a huge impact, and it's only going up. And so we have to find some sort of relief. And so I would like to propose state tax rebates for Portsmouth residents for the toll. I would like to look into senior discounts at the toll. They do that at the Jersey Turnpike. I don't know why we could not do that here. Maybe even a military discount or a monthly pass system. So as far as being a first-time candidate, I have been active in different leadership roles throughout. I talked about a little bit of my bio. I also think that this is not necessarily a position to be taken lightly, but it's also one that it's not unusual to have first-time candidates, freshman candidates in the General Assembly. I know last year there were several millennials that had major upset in 2017. So, thank you.
All right, thank you. Now, gentlemen, the next round of questions, each of you will have an opportunity to answer the question. Don't feel like you need to take the whole 5 minutes. Use the radio rules, and those are sometimes less is more, and bright, brief, and relevant. So, again, we'll switch around who goes first, second, and third on each question. Jim Evans, we'll start with you on this first question, and again, the other two gentlemen will have a chance to chime in after Mr. Evans. Mr. Evans, what is the most difficult problem facing Portsmouth, and how could you, as a public leader, make a difference?
Gosh, that's I would have to say it's economic development. That's the issue. We've been waiting for economic development. We've tried different ideas and it hasn't worked, but the core to making us stronger is, I don't think a lot of people in Portsmouth understand the gem that you have in Portsmouth. When you study the magazines and you read the workups they do about the best place to do business, we're rated like number 1 through number 7 in a number of magazines. And they'll list like 30, 40 reasons why. But when you go into it and you look at it, because I thought this was a great thing, and I said, let's find out what we're doing right. And I went in, I found out we were rated number 34 out of 50 for worst places to do business as a business because of our tax code. Now, they listed the other things that were part of infrastructure. Okay? And one of the things they said, you have access to water. We have 2 ports. We have VIG and we have the Portsmouth Marine Terminal. That's fantastic. We have railroads. That's the second thing. We have great roads. We're a small city. We have our own beltway. We have every single interstate circling our city, which is great. The other thing is we have access to airports. Okay? And we also have a school system, and that's what's hurting us. And we also have high crime. And so what we have to do is if we get our schools straightened out, that will be an economic boom for us, because then you're going to have people with children that want to move into this city. They're going to want to make an investment in Portsmouth. Right now, with the door knocking that I've done, I've heard the thing, and I've heard it too many times. When my kid gets to middle school, we're leaving Portsmouth. That's what they tell me. And the crime issue about people going up the street, breaking into cars, and the policeman comes to your city meeting and says, well, lock your cars. The other issue we're having with Portsmouth is, and I don't know if you know this or not, but we've had 404 residential burglaries this year, not over last year, but up to this day. That's over 1 a day. 1 a day. You know the delivery driver's robbery rate went up 167%. Same period. Now, you want to talk about firing, shootings into occupied dwellings, that's up 56%. And we're looking at almost every crime statistic in our city going up. We've got a problem. And if we want economic development, we have to get the crime under control, and we've got to get our schools up to date. Yes, we need new school buildings. There's no doubt about that. But we also need to help the teachers, because throwing money at them always isn't the answer. You know what one of the biggest things is? I want to feel safe when I'm in the classroom. That's one of the big issues. The other issue is, if a child lies about me, will the school board, will the school system stand in my favor when I'm innocent? The police are going through the same thing. These are the things that we need to address as a city, as citizens. And that's why I'm asking you to elect me to this office, because when you send me to Richmond, I'm going to be supporting you all when you bring the gang investigation group in, when you bring the drug investigation group into Portsmouth, so that we can clean up our city in the areas where it's the toughest. We've got too many good things in Portsmouth going our way, and we need to keep those things going. And the other thing, too, is, and I want to mention Medicaid again, because a lot of you don't know this. Do you know that the federal government is matching 90% of what we spend in Medicaid? Now, as time goes on, and as the economy may grow or wane, if it wanes, do you think the federal government is going to continue that match? Because our president, Barack Obama, in 2011, 2012 said, I'm really concerned about this Medicaid issue. We can't let it get this large. And he was already saying that. He was warning us. We need to take heed of that.
All right, same question, Ryan Benson, and if you want me to repeat the question, I will.
It's the biggest problem facing the city of Portland.
And how could you as a public leader make a difference?
Well, for my door knocking, for my campaign, I mean, like I said, the number one issue is fighting the tolls. I believe that when we are looking at economic development, that is a huge hindrance here for our downtown community. It's a huge hindrance for our city. It's a huge unfair tax on the people of Portsmouth in general. And so we've got to find some sort of relief. I know former Secretary of Transportation, Aubrey Lane, had said that the state could have done it, without the public-private partnership, and they could have done it for less money. And so we have got to find some sort of relief. And so that would want to be my first proposal, is to find, like I talked about before, tax credits or military discounts, senior discounts. We also have the issue with the schools, and I talked about it for how a realtor. And when I have had the same thing that happened to Jim. I am tired of all the friends and that I grew up with who, still live here in Portland. They are now having families. And I'm getting called, hey, Ryan, can you come to our house? And it's great for business. But it's horrible when it's your hometown, and you have pride in our city. And we want to have families, and we want to have good schools, but if they feel like they can get a better education over in Western Branch or over in Virginia Beach, then a lot of people are going to leave, especially with the tolls and the commute and the higher property taxes. So how do we combat that? How do we come to the table and work together to find solutions? And so I think everybody in this room understands, the conflicts that are going on in the city, and it's not one side against another. We have to come to the table and work together. So ultimately, as an independent candidate, I want to work with both sides of the aisle. I want to take the best ideas in Richmond from Democrats or from Republicans, and I want to bring them back home to Portsmouth. I am running a true 100% pro-Portsmouth campaign.
All right, and Don Scott, if you wish to address the question, your opportunity.
The number one issue facing the city of Portsmouth right now, I believe, is economic development. And it's a broad question. As you can see, our city is tangling with this question all the time. We're talking about how do we deal with City Hall. We're on waterfront property right now. Our City Hall is probably the most valuable property, or some of the most valuable property in this region, and we have government sitting on it. There are things that we're trying to do and have to address. I believe that there are ways to find the funding to help solve these problems. We have, right now, I'll just say it, we have the city council and the sheriff in court. Right now, in the city of Portland. We need to bring people, leaders, and at the Richmond level, at the Virginia General Assembly, and to sit everybody down and just come up with a solution that helps us get these problems resolved. There is a way that we can do it. Shouldn't be either or. We can do and. We need to start thinking about how do we get to yes in some of these issues. When we have the sheriff department that wants to maintain a safe jail, and city council is saying we can't do a safe jail, that impacts economic development. You think businesses want to come to Portsmouth when they see that on the front page? We have to figure out ways that we can address that. We have an economic development issue here, and it's also impacted with the way that we are not responsibly dealing with some of our issues. Old Town, I think they had a civic league meeting tonight, I missed it, but I know that they are feeling the pain of the pavilion not being here. I know they count on revenue this summer that they did not get. And the reason they got not, that's part of their whole economic development package. And so what we need to do is we need to figure out ways from the state level when we can, and if we're given enough notice to get more engaged with those issues. Living here and having worked with in economic development and workforce development throughout my career, I know that there are challenges here, but there are things that we can do to solve it, and there are some incentives and disincentives that can come from the state level to help us solve some of these issues. Another thing that's interrelated with the economic development issue is our schools. We have to improve schools. If you want to have a thriving, young community that's up and coming and people look to as a place to raise their children, you have to have good schools. And so we have to go back and reinvest. Do you know that we are right now, the recession was in 2008 or so, we are now at our state funding level, we are funding below that level right now, real dollars. So if you're funding below that level in real dollars, you're definitely funding below that when it comes to inflation. So we have to be able to, it's not an either or, it's schools and economic development and building a workforce and dealing with the third component of this leg is our workforce housing. We have to have housing. The real estate industry will tell you we are losing affordable housing in our industry, which is why when we do create jobs in Portmouth, we have some great resources here. We have some deep water, we have the shipyard, we have great resources and assets, but folks that get jobs here, they're going back out through the tunnel. We need to figure out how do we get our people here to stay here? How do we develop the vacant lots that we have here and build on? How do we build affordable housing? One of the things that we're grappling with here with the Economic Development Authority is how do we attract new businesses here and how do we get them to invest in new Portland? So I believe those are the issues that we have to face. It's threefold. It's economic development, attractive businesses, it's education, and it's also making sure that we have affordable workforce housing. Not public housing. We got a lot of public housing. We need workforce housing where people who are working every day full time and go to work and afford to raise their family. And so coupled with that, the last thing that I would add is that I would affect the fact, the first thing that I would do and look at is we have a minimum wage in 2019 that is $7.25 an hour. That's $14,000 a year for someone working full time. There is no way that a family can afford to, even if it was two members of the family working, and to afford to live on $28,000 a year. You can't find an apartment, a two-bedroom apartment anywhere in Portmouth probably that'll allow you to live anywhere other than well below poverty at $7.25. We have to have a responsible way to raise the minimum wage over time. Responsibly raise the minimum wage. $7.25 an hour has to be done. And that's part of economic development, because when people get paid, they spend money. That's why you see every time the federal government needs to do something, they do a stimulus, which means they give a tax cut and put money back in people's pockets because they know where they will spend that money in that community. And those are the things that I think we need to do. Thank you.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. The next question, Don Scott, you'll go first on this one. What three specific goals do you have to help Portsmouth be a more flourishing city, and how could you implement those goals? So what three goals, and how would you implement those? Don Scott, you're first.
So, the number one goal that I have, that I've spoken about in several forums, and I've been very consistent about it, we got to do something about the tolls. My goal is to alleviate the impact that the tolls are having on our community. It is sucking the blood out of our city across the spectrum. Downtown, midtown, wherever you want to say. Even though Old Town may be most affected, but Churchland is getting hit. The other parts of the city are getting hit as well by the impact that the tolls have. Back in 2012, there was a lawsuit filed, and that lawsuit in Portsmouth Circuit Court was successful. I don't know if everybody remembers that, but it was successful in helping turn back the impact that the tolls would have, and the Supreme Court overturned those decisions. What we have to go, what I've been doing and what I've been working on, and I guarantee you, I've looked at the ERC contract, their toll contract, I've looked at the contracts that we have, I've earmarked all of those, and what I want to do is do a post-mortem on how the heck did we get here, and what can we do to resolve it. There are people who have said, they have stuck their heads in the sand and said that we can't do anything about it, but I don't believe that. I believe that we have a concerned citizenry and we stay engaged and we can do something about those tolls. So that's one of my first goals, is to try to see what we can do to alleviate the impact of the tolls. And I think if I can't do it, I want to know why. If we can't fix some of this and take some of this pressure off the community, we're losing millions of dollars in tax revenue because of the tolls. And as an attorney, I'd love to see what we can do in court to try to alleviate that. The second goal that I have is there's increased teacher pay. We have to do more to put our teachers online with the rest of the states, the rest of the United States. We're not even on the teacher average, we're well below average. We're like 27, 28, believe it who you want to believe. In some surveys, they have us at 45 and as low as 45 and what we pay our teachers. I heard Mr. Evans say that we can't just throw money at teachers. I'm sure there's no teacher here or no teacher that's listening to sound on board that says they're getting money thrown at them. Maybe something else, but not money. And we need to make sure that we invest in our teachers. There is a Time Magazine article that was on the front page recently that a teacher was on the front page and said she can't afford to go to the hospital. She can't afford to go get medicine if she has a headache. She can't afford, she hasn't done a vacation in years. She can't afford supplies. We have to empower our teachers. We have to pay our teachers equal wages. We are well below the national average, while Maryland and D.C., our neighbors and competitors, they're well above the national average. So we need to do a better job making sure that we take care of the people that are taking care of our children. And the third thing that I like to impact is that we need to take care of our public service. Our police and our firefighters, they can't collectively bargain either. And I'd like to make sure that we give them the tools that they need to collectively bargain. That's why I'm proud that I've been endorsed by the Retired Firefighters and Police Association. That's why I'm proud that I've been endorsed by the Portmouth Firefighters Association. That's why I'm proud that I've been endorsed by the Virginia State Firefighters Association. And they've endorsed me and they vetted me because they know that if I get there, I'll fight for them to make sure that they're taken care of. Our firefighters are going into burning business. They're heroes. We need to take care of them, and we need to do more to take care of our pets. So those are the three things that I like to do if I'm elected. Take care, do something about the toll. Do something to make sure that we increase our teacher pay and make sure that we protect our public service. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Ryan Benson, same question.
I think that we definitely have to protect the Medicaid extension. We had, we did release the poverty study just a few weeks ago, and so fortunately we're here in the poverty belt line, and so we have to look out for each other. We suffer greater unemployment, greater poverty in Portsmouth than any of the other cities here on Hampton Road. And so one of the great things was an example from here in 2019 is that in a very divided House of Delegates, that they came together and they were able to pass Medicaid expansion for 400,000 Virginians. And a lot of people get thrown off, like that's a really big number. But at the end of the day, every one of those numbers has a name, and 6,000 of those names live right here in the city of Portsmouth. And so we've got to make sure that people have access to health care. Don's talking about teachers not being able to go to the hospital, and we've got to make sure that people can get health care. Another issue that I think affects our city that we need to get funding from for the state is the recurrent flooding and sea level rise. Portsmouth, we have a ton of residents that live in Zone A, and when we have issues with just flooding from whether it's a nor'easter, whether it's a hurricane, or even if it's just a heavy rain. And so we have to figure out how to combat that. One of the biggest issues with that is with the possibility for a base realignment with the military. We are a Navy town. We are an official Coast Guard city. And so if they pull out, if the Navy pulls out of the region to move the ships down to Jacksonville, even though we have the biggest and deepest port here on the East Coast, that's going to be a major fall, not just for Portsmouth, but for our entire region. And so we have to fight with the recurring flooding. And then I guess my third issue would also be teacher pay. As I mentioned before, Virginia is one of 2 states that do not allow teachers to collectively bargain. We have to pay a prevailing wage. They are the biggest asset to our community. It's the number one reason why people want to buy a home in the city, and we have to be able to retain them. you should be able to get a world-class education here in the city of Portsmouth. And a lot of times, you know, with you improve the school system, you're going to improve property values. You're going to increase economic development. You're going to be able to reduce crime. So we have to start with education. I believe in working to fight with the flooding, and then the issues of protecting health care for our Portsmouth residents.
All right, thank you. Jim Evans, same question.
Yes, the three goals that I have.
Turn your mic on.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. The three goals that I have, the first one to accomplish is the betterment of the schools, because when you better your schools, that is economic development. People want to come. People want to open businesses in Portsmouth, because you're going to have families there, you're going to spend their money on clothing, shoes, sports. They're going to be at the swimming pools, they're going to be at the movie theaters. They're going to be eating out at the restaurants. And let me clarify a statement that got misunderstood here. When I said money isn't the only issue, that's what I meant. Money is not the only issue that teachers are looking at, because money is important. I don't know if you heard about Chicago. They got a 16% raise and they're still on strike. 16% raise. I've never heard of that. A 16% raise. And they rejected it. And for Portsmouth, we really do need to increase teachers' pay, but we have to ensure their safety in the classroom and about the school grounds. We also have to ensure that the children are safe, and that we discontinue any school-to-prison programs that we may have started here in Portsmouth. We've really got to start addressing the kids' problems, because I don't know if you know it or not, but the 13 through 17-year-olds, 70% of them suffer from depression. We're having to deal with children acting out against other children and against teachers. And we have to protect them. And we've got to intervene, so we need to intervene immediately so we don't label a kid and start him on his path to prison or her path to prison. We need to start interjecting ourselves into the home situation immediately, because usually it's a home situation. And the other thing about the markets, when we talk about minimum wage, we've talked about it, and as you know, if we raise the wage, I don't know if you noticed it, but McDonald's has gone to the kiosks where you order at the kiosks. When we start raising minimum wages, you're going to see more of those, because we're going to eliminate jobs. That's what's going to happen. And so what happens is you end up having high school kids or college kids that want to work for the summer, and they don't have a job to go to because the kiosk is taking its place. Now, here's the other thing I want you to remember. As the economy grows, and as you see how we're having more jobs but we have people, I don't know if you noticed it or not, but people are leaving their jobs for higher paying jobs, which is the smart thing to do. And you let the market raise it, because then those who pay less, if they want employees, they'll pay more. And that means as the market raises up, that means the people have the income to pay somebody $15 an hour to work at McDonald's. That's how an economy works. It doesn't work by government intrusion. It doesn't work by government stating how much you'll pay somebody. And it doesn't work by saying that you're going to pay $20 a gallon for gasoline regardless. You've got to let the market fluctuate and go up and down as it does. Because when you do that, you know that the elderly are safer, because they have limited income. But as you let the market ebb and flow, the elderly get taken care of and the poor get taken care of. And the more we hook ourselves up to the government wagon like Don and Ryan want to do, the more taxes you're going to pay. Because trust me, as the economy goes up and down, the federal government's not going to match that 90% for Medicaid. And we're going to be the ones that are going to pay it. And there's going to be a tax increase. And so these are the things I'm thinking for the future. And when I think of Portsmouth, why are we assembling phones in Beijing when we've got the ports here, just right around us in Hampton and Portsmouth? We can deliver the raw materials here and have an assembly plant right here in Portsmouth. Why aren't we thinking that way? Because I'll tell you what killed where my parents grew up was technology. What killed the Chemical Valley, the chemical capital of the world? Change in technology. Pittsburgh got smart. They went high-tech medical. We have to think the same way. Because, folks, the jobs of today are going to be automated. They're already looking at robots. They're already looking at you being greeted by a face on a screen. So we have to be prepared, and yes, Portsmouth and the 80th District, and that's where I would be, is to serve you and to bring those companies here.
All right, sir, thank you. Now, gentlemen, the remaining questions, we're going to have a 2-minute time limit, and your timekeeper, Rob Meredith, will give you a warning at 30 seconds when you have 30 seconds left. This next question, Ryan Benson, you'll go first. How would you vote on building a casino in Portsmouth, and why?
How do we vote to, because right now you cannot actually, gambling is not allowed even anywhere in the state. So how would we vote to legalize gambling within the state? Is that the question?
How would you vote on building a casino in Portsmouth, and why?
Well, I mean, I guess it's a complicated issue. And so you look at, like, the city of Norfolk right now is, looking at a casino. The city of Portsmouth is looking at a casino, and it's almost like, who's going to build it first? Could the region support two casinos? And also look at, is this an opportunity for the future? I'm 35 years old. I've seen a lot of changes just in the technology since I've been in high school. And I wonder, like, the city of Norfolk fought so hard for MacArthur Center, which revitalized downtown, and then they fought so hard for those outlet malls. And they did not, MacArthur Center, Nordstrom lasted one term for 20 years, and they did not come back. No one foresaw that the outlet mall would also be, a flop where they cannot build the stores because the technology has changed. And so I wonder if in the future that if there's going to be an opportunity for casino gaming. If that young people growing up today, by the time we build it, will people be gambling online, or will there be a place for a venue to do casino gaming? What color is that?
That's 30 seconds.
Okay. So ultimately, I would not support any legislation without giving the people of Portsmouth and the constituents the right to decide. I think that should be up to the community in itself. So that would be the legislation I would support.
All right, thank you. Don Scott, same question.
All right, I think I heard an answer in there. That's a tough question because I know nobody really wants to answer it, but I'm going to tell you, sitting on the Economic Development Authority and understanding what the city needs, we need economic development. And if we're going to get the right infusion of dollars in here, then I would support it. I would strongly support it in the right place at the right time. Only if the citizens would support it as well. But the way this process works, and I understand it now, I've read the legislation that created JLAW, which is the Joint Legislative Study, the commission that comes, Joint Regulatory Commission, and they have to go back and figure out, first of all, how we're going to regulate the casino, under which auspice of the state will regulate it, and then most importantly, how we're going to tax it. So they're figuring that out. Once they figure that out, then it's a two-pronged process. Once they figure that out, then it'll come to the legislature again, and we will vote on it, whether that would be a referendum. So there's nothing that's going to happen. I would vote in favor of giving the citizens of Portsmouth the right to make the choice about whether that would be a casino. That's what I would vote for. If it was my vote, particularly after I studied it and looked at everything and made sure that the impact, the benefits outweigh the cost, I would support it. We need things to attract people to Portsmouth right now. I don't know if the casino is the only answer, but I believe if it's not the casino, then we need an entertainment district. We need something. We have, with a city this big, my family is from a little town called Jasper, Texas, down in Texas. 10,000 people. They have a movie theater bigger than any theater that we have in the city of Portsmouth right now. We don't have a movie theater. We have to go beyond the one downtown here, which is nice. Commodore is nice. I go often. My wife loves it. But we don't have another movie theater in the city of Portsmouth. If we want to go to a different theater, we have to go to Suffolk, we have to go to Chesapeake, or we have to go to Norfolk. They use our number, our population, to fund their economic development activities. We have to start using our own population, our own tax base to fund our own economic activity. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. And Jim Evans, same question.
Yes, thank you. The gambling question, the casino question has come up a lot when I'm going door to door. And so I want to give you an experience that my parents have gone through in the city they live in West Virginia, because they have gambling there. Started out as a dog track, then went to slot machines, and now it's tables. And the first 2-3 years were great because they promised a lot of things. They promised great paying jobs. They promised revenue for the community. And after 3 years, it was all gone. The casino's still there. There's still gambling there. The jobs never materialized that they promised, the high-paying jobs. They never materialized. Crime rate went up. Now, I'm going to give you some figures to think about, okay? There's 6.5 million gambling addicts in the United States right now. You know that just with the gambling casinos we have in the United States, it's costing us $9 billion a year in bankruptcies, criminal activity, and financial hardships. And it's affecting the elderly more than any other age group. The one thing that we have to look at too is what would bring them here. Because see, I've been to the casino in Montreal, I've been to Vegas, I've been to Atlantic City. You know, you get 2 blocks away from Atlantic City and you're having problems. So here's my vote on it. My vote's no, because I love my community and I know what it's going to bring. But if you all voted in, that's you. So then be ready to pay for everyone that's addicted to have what do they call it, Gamblers Anonymous. Okay, because it's a little late. They've lost their fortune. Their son comes home and says, "Dad, why is the house for sale?" Well, I lost it.
All right, next question. And Jim Evans, you'll start on this question. What can you do so Portsmouth receives more money from our growing port?
Oh, gosh, you know, having researched that and asked questions about it, it's like, no, there's not a possibility. What we have to do is live right beside it. And what we've got to do is find out who's shipping materials in, and then we've got to become the assembler. Whatever they're shipping into us, we need to learn how to take advantage of it and become the middleman somehow. It's like I was speaking earlier, you know how we make cell phones in Beijing? You could actually make them here in Portsmouth. You wouldn't have a factory with a smokestack. And we have to also think out of the box. You all know Milwaukee, Wisconsin. How many of you all know Andy's Candies? You know, the chocolate things that you kind of get at Olive Garden. Okay. I visited Milwaukee a number of years ago when I walked out of the hotel and I went, boy, this smells good here. And that's because Andy's Candies factory was downtown. Folks, that's a billion dollar company. And they hire people every day, good wages. They have financial coverage. They have health care. And I want to let you know, we have to start thinking out of the box, and we have to start saying yes to things. And instead of looking for the pot of gold at the big rainbow, at the end of the big rainbow, let's start building our city brick by brick and block by block. And let's start investing in the small businesses that come in and the medium-sized business. And if we hook the big fish, fantastic. Because I don't know if we could handle the Apple phone, because you're going to need 340,000 people to service 8 million phones. But that's the blessing that we have if we do it the right way. And that's one thing I want you to understand. I'm going to focus on what is the right thing for us to do. But if you all elect the casino, you know, that's it. But for me, I'm telling you, I'm going to have to vote no.
All right, thank you, sir. Don Scott, same question.
Can you repeat?
Sure. What can you do so Portsmouth receives more money from our growing port?
So when you say our, you mean the state's growing port. Okay? I think we need to get that straight. It's not our report, that's the problem. Portsmouth doesn't have an investment. We don't get a return on that investment. The entire state does. We don't get the benefits rates from it. And one of those issues is that as a delegate, that's one of the issues that I want to go and speak to. I want to look at the legislation that empowers the Virginia Terminal and empowers the Port Commission to do the things they do. We've had a lot of citizens, maybe a couple in here even, that have served on the Port Commission. And I think that there are some questions that we need to ask to see how Portsmouth gets its fair share, because it's obvious, if you've ever come through the Midtown Tunnel, that we're the city that's been most impacted by that port. And it ought to be a way that we can recover more than tax dollars from that port. We're the city when 18-wheelers are not supposed to go down some of those roads over there on West Norfolk, and they're constantly sticking through there. So we're the city that's most impacted by that port, and I think that's some things that we need to do to make sure that we get our fair share with the port. I mean, obviously, there are some other things that we can do to address. I mean, when we talk about automation is coming whether we raise the minimum wage or not. Automation is coming. And what the jobs of the future are coming. There are jobs that we don't even know exist that will be created over these next 15 to 20 years. So the old idea that if we raise the minimum wage, we're going to kill jobs. No, those jobs are going away anyway because they're more efficient. So efficiency is coming. But in regard to the ports, we have to get involved in partnering with other communities across the state who have the same challenges that we have, which is that we're not getting the same return on an investment on an asset that is within our own community. We need to figure out how do we take advantage of that asset. Also, we can build more warehousing there. There are other communities that have done more with warehousing and storaging goods, and then they tax those goods. Those are some of the things that we need to do to make sure that those goods just don't get on the truck and leave, but they may stay here before they go, and we can tax those goods. But those are some of the things that we can do that we need to be thinking about. But the only way to do that, I think that's some incentives for the state. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now, Ryan Benson.
Sure. So we are the host city for the Port of Virginia, and we do have the deepest port here in the East Coast. And so we got the raw end of the deal from the state, and so we do need to get our fair share. And so as it continues to grow, and the opportunity to renegotiate that deal come up, we have to get a better solution so that Portsmouth can end up in a better position. Certainly, we also have to look at, currently for more immediate concerns, looking at bringing in the businesses that do use the port. And so, can we offer them warehouse space? Can we offer them storage and office space so that they can lease and bring their businesses here? And that's all part of a bigger economic development package. We will also look at the opportunity to bring in different call centers that handle, and so that way, instead of having, when you call, you can have jobs here that are in the city, and those are high-paying jobs, $15 to $18 an hour. So we got to look at something renegotiated from the state. Portsmouth's gotten a bad deal with the tolls. We got a bad deal with the port, and we've got to put it into it.
All right, thank you. Now, Ryan Benson, you'll go first with this next question. How would you vote on legalizing recreational marijuana, and why?
Well, I'm 100% in favor. I'm 100% in favor of decriminalizing marijuana, and that is decriminalizing and not legalization. And so I think that that's where they're looking at starting with the current session. Ultimately, I do believe that marijuana is going to be decriminalized. 29 states have already decriminalized it. 29 states have legalized it, and 13 other states have decriminalized it. It ties up unnecessary resources for our courts. It gets people criminal records that don't necessarily deserve it. And I also think that I support medicinal marijuana as well.
All right, thank you. Jim Evans.
Yes, on decriminalizing marijuana, the one thing in the studies that I've done on it is as we go into this process, and I was watching Colorado and the state of Washington very closely about the crime statistics on it. Crime does increase. And I've had some debates with some local people about it, and I said, you need to go in and take a look at it. The thing that concerns me is, okay, how are we going to handle driving under the influence? How are we going to handle people running a bulldozer after they spent a weekend partying? Okay, these are the things that we need to be ready for, because it's very easy to have a homicide at work. It's very easy to happen. And we need to be prepared for that. So you're going to need to make sure that we provide the mental health and the addiction anonymous for those who want out of it. Because one of the things that is coming to us that we haven't talked about is bail reform. And one of the things that they're asking for now is for substance abuse centers for people who go to court, and the judge, rather than setting cash bail, is going to give, hey, you need to attend substance abuse, or you're going to be monitored or drug tested. And those are the things that are coming. But I just want you to be aware that this is a tidal wave. It's coming here, and it will be voted in. Okay? It will be voted in. We have to figure out how to live with it, because that's what's coming.
Thank you. Don Scott, same question.
Mr. Evans, Jim's correct, they will be voted in, and I'll be the one voting for it when I get to Richmond. I'm going to tell you, legalization and decriminalization are both coming. We need to figure out a way to make sure that we regulate it, tax it, make sure that young people don't get it. We already know people are smoking marijuana. That's not the case. People are smoking marijuana, so when you talk about the impact that it will have, we know for a fact that drunk driving kills way more people than driving with any other influence. But we still regulate and sell alcohol right now. Prohibition doesn't work, it didn't work back then, and it won't work now, which is why we see it. Amazingly, while attitudes are changing about marijuana, did you know that in 2018, marijuana arrests were over 20,000, well up for the last 20 years. They're arresting more people for marijuana use than simple possession. And the reason that is because folks think, oh, we gotta start doing more law enforcement because we're about to legalize marijuana. I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to pretend. I don't know if y'all recognize this, but I'm black, and most of the time, the marijuana laws are impacting young black men the most. We're the ones that's going through this system. People of color are the ones that are being impacted by the unfair, not only the fact that the law is unfair, but the fact that the way it's being policed is unfair. Our communities have more law enforcement. We're over-enforced. And so consequently, we're the ones that end up with the impact of a marijuana conviction. And so we're the ones that end up having to spend money for an attorney, spend money to get out of jail, and it's impacting our communities unfairly, which is why I'm for legalization and decriminalization over time and responsibly. Not only that, we talked about how do we get economic development. We already have a cannabis factory here at Portmouth. So we may as well tax it, regulate it, and make sure that it's done responsibly. It's already being used widely. It's already a part of our culture. We need to make sure that we benefit from it. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. Don Scott, you'll go first on this next question. How would you vote on returning the right to vote to convicted felons who have served their time, and why?
It's a real simple, easy question. I think that one of the things that when folks pay their debt, they should be able to move on in their life. I know some people, they can't get over a mistake that someone made. I say that you always get to move on in your life. You learn from your mistakes, you come back and you want people to be contributing members of society and move forward and say, I'm sure my wife and I paid more in taxes than most of the folks in this room over the last 20 years. So I ask folks to make sure that you look in your heart and do the right thing in the community and let folks come home and be fully contributing members of society with no condemnation, with no stigma, and move on and do what it is that God has given them the opportunity to do what God has given them the talent to do. And that's why I would fully vote to restore anybody who's been convicted of any crime, as I would anybody who's made any mistake, whether they were convicted or not. I don't get caught up in the nomenclature of what you are. I get caught up in who you are and what you can do in your future. I never look to the past. I always look to the future, and I hope that you will too.
Thank you. Jim Evans, same question.
This is a really tough question, but as a Christian, you say, yes, I forgive. Yes, And it is correct to look at the character of the individual. What are they doing now? What have they accomplished? Has restitution been made? Have apologies been made? Were they sincere? And it bothers me when we begin to think about, well, not bothers me, but it makes me think when we start talking about murder and rape. Children don't get over those things. We talk about our kids being resilient. Well, they're not. You can look at what happens to kids when families go through a divorce. Watch your mom or dad getting murdered, beaten to death. And then later on in life, the person ends up being restored like nothing had happened. That's why I think the criminal justice system needs to bring back the idea of restitution. And they need to bring back the fact that there needs to be an apology made. And they need to face what they've done. These are the things that have to be done for us to be a whole society. It's not just, and what's happening is our issues really aren't in our race, it's economic. Look at it. Look at it close. We'll start looking at the numbers. And you're going to begin to see that everybody acts the same. But yes, we need to find a way of redemption for those who have served their time, paid their price.
And Ryan Benton, same question.
So this is another issue that was in the 2019 legislative agenda for the city of Portmouth that the city council worked together to present to our current legislators. And so they were in favor of restoring voting rights to convicted felons or felons that have, paid their time. And I fully do support that. I think that, not doing so is a form of voter suppression. And that's an important issue that's coming up as well. So I would definitely, if you paid your service, you served your time, society, we want you to welcome you back, and we want you to participate, and so you need to then have a voice, and so your vote is your voice.
All right, next question, Jim Evans, you'll go first. How would you vote on restraining abortion rights?
This is
this is the issue that I am really strong on because of my life experience. And I believe life begins at conception. And I've been endorsed by the Virginia Society for Human Life. And let me tell you why. And I go through it biblically, but it's more than that. You remember when Moses was giving the law, he said, well, why didn't you give us the right to divorce if we're never to divorce you? The Lord's response was because of the hardness of your heart. And when we talk about rape and incest in the life of the mother, and I know that all pregnancies end after 9 months, except for our son, he came 3 months premature. And so I've gone through that, but with what's going on is that we need to be known as a society that has a place for everybody. We need to be stopped known as a society that's not for you. We need to be inclusive. I have close friends, and as you all have read, I have my master's in divinity, so being a pastor, a lot of people talk to me. And they have gone through some really life struggles, and I have some very close friends I love very much that are a product of rape and incest. And I think about what we're doing, and I think about the friendships that I would have not enjoyed. But I want to say thank you to those mothers who saw it through and even gave up their kids for adoption. And that's why you see me being so strongly pro-life. There's a place for everybody here. There's not a population bomb going on. We just need to be more giving, more accepting, and more inclusive.
All right, thank you. Ryan Benton.
So, being 35, I've always grown up in a world where there is safe and legal abortion, and so I don't know anything differently. Even though growing up as a child, my parents were foster parents, my father was on the board of a children's home, And so I think it's a horrible, it's a tough road, because I don't want to be judging, and I don't want to be in somebody's shoes that is, has to even make that decision. And so ultimately, I believe that that's a decision that's best made for the woman and her doctor.
All right, Don Scott?
As a married man who's married to a very smart lady, who's a dentist, medical professional, one of the things that we know is, how much involvement she wants me between in her reproductive rights. She asked my opinion like never. So I will stay out of a woman's right to do what she needs to do in her reproductive decisions. Everything, I believe that a woman has a right to manage her own reproductive decisions between her and her doctor and her family and her God. I don't judge. I let them make their own choices and their decisions. It's not my place to do that. There are some people who are put in positions sometimes to make some choices. And those choices are rightfully tough. But I will leave that decision to them each and every time. I would never regret the decision that they made. Thank you.
All right, next question, Don Scott, you'll go first on this one. How would you vote on uniform background checks before eligibility to purchase a gun?
I think that is a no-brainer. That should happen. That just people think a uniform background check will prevent you from buying a gun. In the state of Virginia, you can still buy a gun. You can go and petition a circuit court judge and say that I had a felony or I had a misdemeanor a while ago, and you can still purchase a weapon. People believe that you can't purchase a weapon with a background. You can. There are ways to do that. But it also is helpful to know that you went through that process. And it's also helpful to know that you had to go through some steps. That was a time I would definitely vote to enforce that. I would also go a next step further to ban high-capacity magazines. I would go ban assault rifles. That was a time George W. Bush banned assault rifles, but he let the ban expire until it came back. If somebody's gunman came in this door right now, none of us could escape with a high-capacity magazine or with an assault weapon. By the time you called 911 on that end, all of us would be done with a high-capacity magazine. No police officer, that one police officer could not protect us with the weapons that he has right now. We need to think about that. That's what gun stocks, assault rifles, high-capacity magazines do. You can do maximum damage in a matter of seconds. So we need to do something about that. I would most definitely vote to ban, to bring background checks, and also ban those other weapons. When we had that tragedy happen in Virginia Beach, our Virginia Assembly, the governor still called them up there. You know what they did? They did nothing. They came up there, they listened to a few speeches, and they had an opportunity to take some action, and they decided, you know what, we're going to go home. They went home on us. They decided not to pass one piece of meaningful legislation. They didn't make us safer and continue with the status quo. I will not do that when I go to Richmond. Thank you.
Ryan Vincent, same question.
I would not support we're asking about the background checks or about waiting periods?
Uniform background checks before eligibility to purchase a gun.
Okay, I got confused and started talking about the assault rifles. So I think that the biggest issue is that we have a crime. When I talk to the police chief here, involved with illegal and stolen firearms, and I think we need to crack down on illegal and stolen firearms. I do not support universal background checks. I don't believe that we need to have a list of who owns what firearms. There's already over 300 million in the United States, and it's going to be hard to there's no list or registry for that currently. Firearms are also bought and sold on individual basis, so there's nothing illegal about buying a handgun or a firearm off of Craigslist or person to person. And so, of course, how do you regulate background checks? I mean, would that only be in gun shops or would that be at gun shows? You've got to have consistent and fair gun laws throughout the state, and we also need to crack down on illegal and stolen firearms.
Thank you. Jim Evans?
Yes. On this issue, this is the one that really gets everybody going. And when it comes to background checks, we definitely need it. We don't want to be selling a gun to someone who is not mentally capable of handling that responsibility. So those are needed. I do want to expand on this answer, though, a little bit, because when we talked about rifles, the AR-15 was mentioned. It was banned from 1994 to 2004. And so when you look at the mass shootings that took place, and a mass shooting is when 4 or more people are murdered, you're going to look and you're going to find out that the overwhelming gun that was used was a 9mm handgun. That was what was used down in Virginia Beach. Now, here's something to think about, too. We never hear about how many criminals have fled because someone had a gun. And I want to let you know that the person that has conceal and carry, they, most of the time, in fact, the majority of the time, when the criminal sees the gun, they leave because they realize they haven't found a soft target. Now, if you're a law-abiding citizen, no one should tell you whether you can have a gun or not, or what kind of gun you want. You should be able to buy that gun because you take care of it, because target shooting is a sport. I enjoy shooting. And we have to be smarter about how we handle things, because when people decide to harm others, there's not much of a thing that you can do about it. You know that we kill more people with our own hands and feet than we do with an AR-15 a year. We kill more people with a hammer or a tool than we do with an AR-15. And so when we do the background checks, yes, they're needed. But let's not go beyond that and start confiscating guns. That's not the way to go.
All right, thank you, sir. Next question, Ryan Benton, you'll go first on this one. How would you prioritize funding for mental health services versus uniform or universal background checks?
So is this for mental health in regards to gun ownership?
Just funding for mental health services overall.
Well, we definitely need to increase funding for programs and interdisciplinary partnerships for mental health programs, whether it's prevention, harm reduction, treatment programs, culture change. And so how can we focus on dealing with our mental health industry? And so we actually, there is a crisis. And so when you look at the survey for kids, you have currently in the United States over 4 million children who are suffering from anxiety and depression. It's a constant struggle. And so how do we implement that into the classroom? I think would be the biggest place to start. Children are facing bullying nonstop. And so we have, like, with social media, it's not like when I was growing up, or we were growing up and we left the classroom at the end of the day. It continues online. And so there's already programs from Health and Human Services that I know that they were having a workshop just this week at Parkview Elementary, and it's called like Project AIM. And it's like, how do you deal with feelings of hopelessness, feelings of doubt, low self-esteem? And so how do we incorporate and increase state funding? We need to increase state funding for those programs and have state-issued programs here in our public schools.
All right, thank you. Jim Evans. No, excuse me, Don Scott.
Can you repeat the question?
Yes. How would you prioritize funding for mental health services versus uniform or universal background checks?
So if I had to prioritize one or the other, I would choose the mental health funding. And the reason is because right now, I see it in the courts every day. We are criminalizing mental health right now. In this country, we are criminalizing folks who need help managing their mental health issues. And what we're doing is we're sentencing them to time by evaluating them, and then the jails become overburdened. And so now we're wondering why our tax rates are going up. All of that's impacting when we could have come up with solutions prior to those folks getting there. We've had, as you well know, we had a death at the Hampton Roads Regional Jail where a young man, basically, I think he stole a 7-Up and a Snickers, and he spent so much time in the Hampton Roads Regional Jail when he died of waste, where it means that he just died eating his own feces and other issues. If you read the complaint that was filed, and that case was settled in federal court. This is what we're doing with our mental health. We have become apathetic about mental health. As much as we talk about it, we are not putting what we talk about into our budget. We have to implement our values in our budget, and our value should be taking care of those who are the most vulnerable amongst us. And those folks who have mental health needs are, in fact, most of the time, most vulnerable among us. So if I had to decide which one I would fund, a background check or mental health treatment, I would fund mental health treatment at this time. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Jim Evans, same question.
Yeah, this is an issue that we tried to address back in 2008 as the General Assembly, and so we set aside $41 million. Okay, and the things that we covered were things like commitment criteria, mandatory outpatient treatment, procedural improvements, privacy and disclosure provisions. We also talked about firearm purchases and reporting requirements. And so if you read through that bill that was passed, you're going to find that we have been addressing those issues. And what we need to do is there is more funding that needs to be done for mental health. And we do need to start focusing for minors because of the situation in our modern society. And, you know, I think you're seeing in our debate tonight, in our discussion tonight, how things are intertwined. And when we talk about decriminalizing and legalizing marijuana, and one of the reasons that it's a concern and one that you really want to take time to consider is because when you're smoking marijuana, it's stronger than it was in the 60s. My friends who did a lot of drugs, they say, Jim, it's nothing compared like what was in the 60s. It's 20 times stronger, 100 times stronger. But what it does for juveniles and for adults is if you're trying to learn something, your cognitive abilities are reduced. The other thing that it does, it prevents you from keeping self-control. And that's one of the reasons you're having problems of acting out in modern-day classrooms. And that's one of the things that you see in Colorado, where it showed on the news where a guy had a 6-foot piece of pipe and he was going down the street banging people with it. These are the things we need to consider. So let's be prepared because it's coming. It's going to be voted in. And so let's be prepared to protect the people of this society and also allow them to have the use of it.
All right, thank you, sir. And Jim Evans, you'll be first on this next question. How could you work with other cities to develop better infrastructure in Portsmouth and Hampton Roads?
Better infrastructure.
Better infrastructure.
With other cities. Remove the tolls. Hey, I wanted to share something with you. I was at a meeting with one of the civic leagues, and we talked about the tolls. And this one gentleman said, you know, if they would sell drilling rights off the coast of Virginia, we could buy back the contract. And I had never thought of that. I thought, you know, we've got people out in our community that are thinking, how can we get this? So as Don was talking, you know, he says we keep looking at ways. We've gone to court over it and we've lost. Buy back the contract. Portsmouth, we couldn't do it by ourselves. It would have to come through the Commonwealth of Virginia. It would have to come through the General Assembly to buy it back. And that's one way to think about it. But as to the question, working with other cities, you know, there were big issues about putting the 4-lane in down to North Carolina because we didn't want to lose business in Virginia. You know, roads, people come on roads, and we want to make sure that connecting the communities is important. The one thing that, you know, how we look at the tolls like they're a fence, they're a barrier. Well, just think about everybody west of us. If we could grow Portsmouth the right way, we would have Chesapeake, Suffolk, Hampton coming to our area, Isle of Wight, Franklin, because we've got connection right to Norfolk as well through the Caribbean. We need to start rethinking how we live and work and how we're going to move forward in Portsmouth. And that's the way to do it. And we just have to talk with the other cities. And what's working for you? How are you making your businesses grow? And for the city of Portsmouth, you've got to reduce your business tax rate. You want businesses in here, you've also got to delay your revenue for startup, wait for them to work for 6 months as open. and to move that through. The other thing that I would do for the state is for the complaint on a liquor license, I would make sure there's proof so that the complaint isn't put in because it takes too long and then the restaurant closes because they can't sell liquor.
All right, thank you, sir. Don Scott, same question.
What I would do to increase regionalism here to solve the same problems, some of the problems, I already do that. I serve on the board of the Future Hampton Roads. It's a regional board here that's made up of business leaders across the region, former city managers and other and CEOs of businesses, Navy admirals, and former leaders throughout the region. And what we do is look at how we can address issues that affect all of Hampton Roads. A bigger issue that affects all of Hampton Roads that we all know of, because we all drive around here more than likely, is our transportation. There are things that we can address to reduce the impact and the stagnation that our transportation issues cause. One of those is also, I'm very invested in looking at the tolls because I think that it is negatively impacting us. And I know that Portmouth talks about it a lot. But you'd be surprised to know that the rest of the region is interested in how the tolls are impacting us as well, because although it has a disparate impact on Portmouth, it's also affecting the rest of the region. So I think the rest of the region is interested in helping us solve this problem if it makes financial sense. And I think if we can create some incentives for the state and use all the assets that we have, listen to different ideas. One of my strengths that I believe is listening to other leaders, listening to people with different viewpoints, and then coming up with a solution. I like to surround myself with people a lot smarter than me, so I can listen and learn from them and figure out the best way to resolve some of these issues. We have a lot of talent in this region. Me being originally from a small town and then growing up in Houston, Texas, which is a large regional area, we understand. I drive around here every day. I don't even think about going to Chesapeake or Newport News or Hampton, because I'm in those courtrooms every day all throughout the region, all the way over to Virginia Beach Town Center. And I just look at this region as one big, huge city. And until we can get the rest of the region to do this the same way and get away from some of the parochialism here, and make sure that we're investing and sharing in what we can do together, our transportation, our sanitation. There are some things that we can do here regionally that would be fantastic. That's what I like to do.
All right, thank you. And Ryan Benton, same question.
Well, one of the committees I would hope to serve on would be transportation up at the General Assembly, and so clearly you would be able to have a voice representing Portsmouth and our frustration with the tolls and the raw end of the deal that we got for that. And so Portsmouth would have a voice because you're in the Transportation Committee. I also would want to work regionally with other leaders, and there is a committee here in Hampton Roads. I believe it was formed by the Chamber of Commerce, and so different city leaders, regional leaders, officials, transportation heads serve on that, and so I would want to get involved in that as well. And I would also want to work with all the other leaders within our state. So we have 3 state senators that represent in Portsmouth, and we also have Delegate Steve Harrison. And so I would want to go in and tag team for relief for our region. I believe we could probably partner up with like Jay Jones over in Norfolk, because Norfolk is affected with the toll as well. And we could tag team and get some toll relief.
All right, thank you. 2 more questions, gentlemen. We'll start with Don Scott on this next question. Where do you stand on sea rise, and how would you work to support your position?
I believe that that's an issue that we have to address here in the city of Portland and across the state and across this region. Often, if you're driving, my office is right downtown here on 355 Crawford Street. And depending on what the weather looks like, you can get a flash flood and you have to figure out how to get back around. So I know that sea level rise is real. I'm grateful that the governor has created a chief resiliency officer. I'd like to see us, we have a resiliency officer. A lot of folks have criticized that, but I think you got to figure out a way to leverage all of the resources that the state and federal government can bring. There are grants that money being given away for communities that are looking at the challenges on how to address sea level rise. Portland is a great city. We're a port city. So for us not to be at the cutting edge of addressing sea rise is be irresponsible. So if I was voted in as delegate, I'd be definitely supporting the initiatives around our resiliency and making sure that we can deal with the flooding as a region as well as a city. We cannot afford to lose the assets that we have here because we don't address sea level rise and climate change. We cannot have our heads in the sand. I know there are folks who don't believe in science, who believe that the science is faulty. Believe me, it is real. The sea level rise is real. If you want any anecdotal evidence, just wait till your next flash flood when you're driving home. So I hope that when we get the opportunity to go to Richmond, we will address sea level rise and make sure that we empower the best thinkers on these issues to solve these problems in the city of Portmouth. Thank you.
All right, Jim Evans, same question.
This issue is like a ping pong game because you read information from scientists and then the next day you're reading through the paper, you're reading in an article trying to bone up on what the issue, you have the opposite side. And it really is difficult when you try to say, oh yeah, they're right, oh now they're right. And the sea level rise, when it comes, you've got to be very prepared for it. But to me, it hasn't been proven. And the reason why I say that is because I look at the scientific data for both sides. And when I have people who started with the program saying it happened, and then they say, no, it's not happening, and they've gone to the other side, and they're saying, no, this isn't happening, I have to stop and really look at the facts of what we're seeing. And so with that, yes, there is a flooding problem in Portsmouth. We've got to get a handle on it. And the one way that we do it is we start looking at the city structure, our sewer system, water runoff, and get prepared for it because you'll have losses for property damage and repair. But folks, as for dumping billions of dollars into it, you're going to start asking the question, well, who's going to pay that? Who's going to pay for it? You're already paying $1.30 per hundred right now. Do you want to go to $2.50? These are the things we have to weigh. And folks, start reading on it and read both sides of the material. I had a professor from ODU said that the climate change, and she said it was because the rain didn't come and stay. Well, look at the rain that's come and stayed and rained and rained and rained. So even with information, when I search it out for people, I'm finding that it's not always accurate.
All right, thank you. Ryan Benson, same question.
Well, the recurring flooding and the sea level rise is a real issue. It's a real issue, especially here in Portsmouth. As a realtor, I sold homes here in Portsmouth that pay $2,000 to $3,000 a year just for federal flood insurance. And so it's an issue with protecting our assets. It's an issue with protecting our communities. And so I've already talked about how it could be impacted with the region and the economy if the military up and decided to relocate. If a BRAC was formed and they wanted to go somewhere like Jacksonville that did not experience the frequent flooding that we do. And so we have to have funding and flood risk management. We need to invest in additional pumping stations. We need to address drainage systems and make sure that we have funding for those issues. It's definitely a real issue, and it should impact everybody that lives here in Portsmouth. Our city has a lot of Zone A areas, and we also pay significant flood insurance. And so if we could invest in the pumping stations, invest in better drainage systems, if we could reduce the cost of flood insurance and manage the sea level rise, then I also believe we would see a strong increase in our property values.
All right, thank you. Final question, Ryan Benton, you'll go first on this one. The gentleman after this will move to 5-minute summations. Ryan Benton, again, you're first on this question. What would you say are the top 3 attributes of a successful elected official? The top 3 attributes.
Well, I know this is going to be a joke, but I do think politicians should be honest. And that is something that is important to me. And so I live my life, first and foremost, I want to be honest. I want to be honest with the public. I want to be honest with your fellow colleagues, and you want to be tell the truth. I want to be transparent, and so you want to have transparency among having meetings behind closed doors, having secrecy, backhanded deals. It just has no place in our city, and so we've been burned with that. It's on the front page of the paper all the time here in Portsmouth. And so I want to bring transparency to Portsmouth. And I also would say accountability is important. I feel like here in Portsmouth, one of the things that we struggle with is that there seems to be no accountability with our leadership. You have the pavilion that had a roof off of it for 2 years. In the first season, you understand, it's like, okay, this is an act of God. We could not control it, the building engineers. But what about year 2? I mean, if you think about it, they lose every single show, and they lose them to nothing. They lose them to Virginia Beach. Those cities got that revenue. And I will say this, I mean, it's one of those things that, the city gets 11% of the sales from, they charge you outrageous prices for concessions there. I mean, if you're going to feed your family, good luck. And so, the city got 11% of the revenue from that, though. And so, my math was never my best subject, but 11% of zero is still zero. And so we need to have accountability. We need leaders who care. It seems like, when we look at issues like that, and there's several other issues in the city, it doesn't seem like our leaders care. And so we need leaders who will be accountable.
All right, thank you. Jim, same question.
The top 3, it would be being direct to you and tell you the truth. Just flat out honest with you. The other one is the individual does what they say they're going to do and performs and delivers. The last one would be transparency. So when you elect me to go to Richmond, when I come back, and if you don't like what I voted for, I'll take the abuse. You can yell at me, you can scream at me, I'll be seeing you face to face. It's not going to be over email, it's not going to be over Skype or something of that nature, because I want to hear your point of view. And I'll tell you why I voted the way I did. And those are the things that are important. I'm not going to build a kingdom. I'm not going to build this monumental political force, because I believe in servant leadership. I'm a servant to you. You're my employer. I believe in citizen representation. That means, hey, I work just as hard as you do. I want my property values to stay up. I want my right to private property. I want people to keep their hands off of me. And I don't want the police in my house without a warrant. That's what I want. And I promise to deliver that to you. That's what I promise to do.
All right, thank you. And Don Scott, same question.
One of the things that I'm blessed to have, I get a lot of perspective. When you have a 10-year-old that questions you daily, you start finding out what's important in life. You get to see what's on their mind about their future. And one of the things that I've learned is, kids don't do the type of things that adults do. So one of the values and attributes that I think is important is to get away from the politics of personal destruction. We have folks who think that it is okay to try to destroy folks through media, through Facebook, through advertising, and we got to get away from it. We got to get back to responsible, statesman-like leadership. Folks who want to lead because it's what's best for their community. This is not my first time coming to ask for service. I've been serving since I've been here. I've served on boards and commissions, not only here locally, but all across the country. And so what we have to get back is encouraging people who want to stick their hand up and say, look, I'll go to represent you, that we encourage those folks and not be about trying to figure out ways that we can bring folks down. We have a lot of folks that spend a lot of energy trying to bring folks down. I'm not that type of leader. That's the reason that I've been supported. My campaign has been supported by Delegate Steve Hurley, Delegate Jay Jones, Mayor John Rowe, Senator Louis Lucas, and others across the state. I've been endorsed by every major outlet in the state, and the reason is that because they vetted me, they spoken to me, and they know that I can deliver. That's why I want to get away from those politics of personal destruction. The second thing that I think you have to do is something about leading. You need to have a leader that listens. And I like to listen to different folks. I like to learn their story. I want to know what makes you stay up at night and figure out those solutions that we can all agree on. We're not going to agree. Evans and I are not going to agree on everything about guns. But there are going to be some things that we can agree on that are common sense. And that's what I want to bring to the table. I think that's an attribute that's very important. And lastly, I'm a fighter. You know my story is a story of resilience and never giving up, always coming back. Knock me down 5 times, I'm getting up 6 times. And that is what we need for us in Richmond, and that's what I'll be. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, gentlemen, now you each will have 5 minutes for a summation. We want you to summarize your platform and tell everyone here why they should vote for you. We'll start with Jim Evans.
Okay, with what I want to see for Portsmouth, and the reason you should vote for me is because I can see the gem that we should be. We're in the center of Hampton Roads. And we have the traffic going through us, we have the ports going our way, and we've got to learn to do better and think smarter and be ready for the future. And that's what I would be working at to deliver to you. Trust me, I want to work with Democrats, Republicans, and Independents, because by strengthening Portsmouth, we're going to be strengthening the rest of the state as well. Because what comes through Portsmouth will be delivered through other people. And one of the things, too, is that you're going to see from me is I'm not going to be a person that it has to be my way. The one thing that you're going to see from me is when I knock door to door, I ask people, I say, well, what's your greatest concern? Do you have something that you're upset about? Is there something that you really like? And I take those into consideration, and I build my platform on those things, and that was the one thing that I heard was education, crime, and transparency. The people of Portsmouth are really upset because there's a disconnect between their government and them. And they're not getting the services they need. Because I had numerous complaints about policemen not arriving on time. And numerous complaints about the City Hall not responding to their needs or their questions. And the same thing with the state government as well. The people that we had serving them in the General Assembly. Hey, you'll have my phone number. You'll have a way to get in touch with me, and I will deliver to you the answer that you may need. Now, it may be against the law of what you're requesting, and I'll let you know if it's against the law. But if we want to change the law, let's work at changing the law. Because we need to look that way. And you know, the good thing about our Constitution in Virginia, it says, you know, we have rights. And trust me, everybody knows their rights. But right before that it says your duties. We have duties as citizens of the Commonwealth of Virginia. And I think a lot of that's being forgotten. And the one thing that you'll have with me is safety, because that's what I'm going to work for, because if you want to grow your community, you've got to know it's safe to go outside and go about to do your business. You got to have strong schools for a better community and to have economic development. You got to have a good infrastructure for the same. And you need to know that your rights are protected, and I'll be there. And I will defend those rights. You know, endorsements are important, but I want you to realize one thing, is the people, has your life changed over the last 10 years here in Portsmouth? And it hasn't. So you have to consider, do I vote for Jim Evans and I get change, or do I vote for someone and continue to get the same thing? You won't get the same thing from me. I want to see this place shine. I want people begging to get in here so that they become a part and they make an investment in Portsmouth. They just don't come in to take. And those are the things that I'm looking for. That's why I'm asking you to send me there. I live here. You know, when I first moved here, I had to break up fights about in front of my house. I had to call the police numerous times. I would go out on the street, and I would see kids hanging on the street corner, staring at a house where there was a single mom, and I knew they were getting ready to break in. And I walked right over to them, and I said, what are you guys doing? Oh, this is public property. I mean, they were real smart with me. They got under it. I said, guys, I'm gonna go call the police and we'll find out what's going on. So I went in the house, turned around, walked back out, they were gone. This is about being and doing your duty. I look out for my neighbors. I look out for what's going on in our community. And I don't want you to be taken advantage of. I want you to know what's coming, and I want to know what you're looking for.
Thank you. Ryan Benton, 5 minutes to summarize your platform and tell everyone here why they should vote for you.
Well, I'm running a pro-enforcement campaign, and so we've already talked about some issues that I think that are most affecting the city with crime, public education, and the impact of the tolls of the Midtown Downtown Tunnel. And so those are things that I want to go to Richmond and fight for our city for. I believe that we need leaders in Portsmouth that want to work together. And we have a history of doing business. I mean, like, we have the sheriff and over the judge, and we're in court right now. And it's like, it's not necessarily what we do. I haven't met one person that thinks the best use of this waterfront space is to have the jail here. But it's how we do it. And we have to treat each other with respect. And so I'm not politics as usual. I'm running as an independent. I'm 35 years old. And we've got, but the good thing is that I'm nobody's puppet. I have not taken money from big corporations. I have not been bought. And so when we look at the ideas, I can honestly be the one to vote what is best for the people of Portsmouth. And so we need leaders that will bring us together, and we need leaders that are truly working for the people and not for special interests. And I think that ultimately, at the end of the day, we can start to see some changes here in Portsmouth if we can all work together. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And finally, Don Scott.
Thank you. Thank you, first of all, for a great job tonight. Thank you all for being here. I want to thank both of my opponents, Brian and Jim, for putting their name in the hat. This is not an easy task. It takes a lot for citizens to come forward and put their name in the hat. So I'm grateful for the opportunity to stand beside these two gentlemen and tell you our views. I live here. I've been here 14 years. I'm blessed. My daughter was born here in the home that we live in now, my wife and I. And I love this community. I've had so much success. I'm embarrassed to tell you how much success I've had here in Portland. I feel like I'm blessed beyond anything that I would ever imagine in my life. And so because I've been blessed that way, I feel obligated to give back. I feel a great need to get back to the community that has nurtured me, who has given me opportunity, and given me more opportunity to grow. So I'm grateful to you for listening to us this evening and for listening to me. The things that I care about are the things that I know all of you care about. The tolls, that's one of my things that I have to look at. I researched this issue extensively. I represent folks in court often who are trying to get their bills and fines reduced because they've gone through the toll 3 or 4 times and now they got a $1,000 bill. I want to go to Richmond and do something about that. I don't think that's right. I don't think that's what the state intended when they instituted the tolls, and I don't think folks understand the impact that it's having not only on everyday people that are just trying to go to work, but I get it from first responders, police officers, firefighters, and others. And the reason I think that they come to me is because they know I'm not business as usual. I will fight. It's the reason that people from across the board have endorsed me. That's the reason that not only has Jay Jones has endorsed me and given me resources to back me up, and Steve Hurtig, as a delegate, Steve Hurtig has given me resources and backed me up. John Rowe has given me resources. Kenny Wright has given me resources. Sheriff Moore is backing me up. I can go on and on and on. The list does not stop. The teachers are behind me 100%. The letter carriers are behind me. The reason that they're behind me is not that I'm some puppet. It's because they know I will go and I will fight. I will fight. I have been fighting for everything that I've ever had in my life, and I won't stop now. I will be fighting for the city of Portland, and that's why I will go. Not only will I fight, I'll fight smart. And fighting smart means how do we make sure that we pay our teachers a fair wage? How do we make sure that our teachers are not having to buy supplies from their own money? How do we make sure that we're not continuing to be 10, 11 years behind where we were in public school funding? That's unacceptable. And I know that if we get this community behind these ideas, we can make a change in Richmond. We have to come together. What I've been able to do is work the folks that serve on boards with me across this country right now and locally. They're not Democrats. I'm a Democrat. but they're not Democrats, they're Republicans, they're independents, and we sit down together and we solve problems. I believe in giving the opportunity, I can help you help solve those problems. I'm not a know-it-all. I love to hear ideas. I love to listen to different points of view. I'm a lawyer. I listen to different arguments in court that I'm diametrically opposed to every day. It doesn't mean that I have all of the best ideas. It means that I'll listen, I'll learn, and I'll try to implement those ideas. We have to do something about making sure that we invest in our public school infrastructure. The only way we do that is to make sure that we increase funding at least back up to pre-recession levels. We're still under pre-recession levels in our public school funding. We have to do something about that. We have to make sure that we protect our public service workers. We need to make sure that we take care of our firefighters who are out there risking their lives. Right now, firefighters have to go to heck and high water to prove that the cancer that they have is related to running into a building and breathing in these fumes. And we as a society have to make sure that we're going to protect those people who are heroes and will run into a burning building for us. And that's why the firefighters endorse me. That is why I know that if I go and represent you, I will have the confidence of folks like that who believe that I can relate to them and that I will fight for them. Lastly, I want to make sure that every child has an opportunity to learn in a safe environment. The same thing that I want for my own daughter, I want for all children. And the way that we do that is we take care of our teachers. We take care of our teachers and we empower our teachers in the classroom and give them the resources that they need to deal with some of these communities that are vulnerable, that are coming from traumatic homes. We have to empower our teachers and our administrators to be able to take the steps that they need to wrap all of our arms around these children to get the things that they need. And lastly, I'm a strong advocate of criminal justice reform. I believe that if you do what you have to do when you come home, you're supposed to get all of your rights. We the people. We're supposed to get all of our rights. We pay taxes. Everybody is a deserving of a society, and that's what I'll do. End mass incarceration, end prisons for profit, and end the school to prison pipeline. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. And gentlemen, thank you for your participation tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, please show your appreciation for the participation.